This is a really, really wonderful piece, and it's got an interesting inscription and a very interesting backstory to it as well. So let's get on with it. Let's begin with the basics then. So this dates to around 500 BC, could be up to 475 BC. It was Attic, but it wasn't found in Attica, and I'll come to that in a moment. And it was a wine jug, a small one. And the technical name for that is oinochoe or oinochoe. I'm sure if I've got that wrong, someone will tell me. Anyway, so that's what it was. Its function was to distribute wine between the larger vessels and the smaller vessels. So this was quite an important piece. As I said, it was made in Attica, that is to say the region of Athens, but it was found at Vulci, and Vulci is an Etruscan colony. The Etruscans, really important people, very, very influential. Not enough is done on them. I'm a big fan of them. And they lived, in short, to be very rough about it, they lived north of Rome, in what is possibly modern-day Tuscany. I'm sure there are some overlaps there. So that's where they lived, and they were huge fans of Greek imports. In fact, they imported lots of Greek vases. One of the many Greek vases you might have a favourite of is probably one that survived because it was found in a tomb there. So again, thanks to them for keeping them be, because otherwise we may not have them. The scene, as you can see, is that of two smiths. Now, the two smiths are working slightly differently. You've got the older man sat down. You can see that because he's got the beard, and you've got the younger man stood up, and they're working they're doing various Smith-based stuff. So this is about people at work, which is quite interesting because, again, this is quite an important piece. Perhaps, to remind people of what really went on in the sort of common work that was going on. And you've got their items of trade up against the walls just to showcase what they were doing. Again, if you're an artist, you want to be showcasing your talent. You don't want a lot of empty space. And this is where it becomes a bit more interesting, because there's an inscription here. In fact, apparently there are a few words on here that don't make sense, but there is one inscription in here which does. And it's a question. And the question is Ms a fine man? Yes. That's it. So it's more a question that's answered. So is Ms a fine man? Yes. Again, I hope I've got the pronunciation there of the name right. Now, perhaps the person who owned this knew this person. Perhaps they were. Perhaps they'd made it big, and therefore they wanted something from there to remind themselves of their younger days, perhaps working as a smith. We don't know that. That's all speculation. In any case, what's interesting is that the name Ms, it could relate to two different things, or several different things apparently. One of them could be a name for mouse. It's apparently where we get the word mouse from. It could also be where we get the word muscle from. And by that, I think it means both muscle as in the creature and muscles in the anatomical feature. So again, quite a few options here. So we don't know the story behind that, but it's always great to have these small things because, again, they give us such great insight into these sort of personal items. There's another aspect to this. So its original owner was someone you will know his surname. You won't recognize from his forename. His forename was Lucian. Surname was Bonaparte. Yes, younger brother of Napoleon, who apparently was quite a keen archaeologist and lived in this area, lived in the area of sort of Tuscany, and would have excavated or perhaps excavated this exact item. So there we go. It's got a lot of story behind it, and which I always think wonderful, adds a lot more interest to these sorts of items. Anyway, that's me done, so I hope you enjoyed it. If you've got any questions or comments or anything, you know what to do. If you want to follow, go ahead.